in front of the cameras, setting bait, media propaganda blitz, they're just renegade. They're waving to the crowd, spewing empty promises. The applause is loud, and you still fall for this. It's a dog and pony show, threatening the woke. Donkeys and elephants, a three-ring circus, rope with dope. They partisan, hook, line, and sinker. They only want followers, not independent thinkers. Political leaders, sweet bottom feeders, men who are on their faces are high two-tone. Political leaders, sweet bottom feeders, men who are on their faces are two-tone. Their faces are two-tone. Up and away, superheroes to many, saviors for some, a taker from any. They appear distinguished, the 1%'s voice, their souls extinguished, their minds destroyed. For you against you, all with the same breath. With us against us, it's a loyalty litmus test. Patriotism, dictator, confusion, schizoid prison, it's a democracy illusion. Political leaders, sweet bottom feeders, men who are on their faces are two-tone. Political leaders, sweet bottom feeders, men who are on their faces are two-tone. Their faces are two-tone. Their faces are two-tone. Yeah, their faces are two-tone. They call it a chamber, believers of the manger. In God they trust not, falling angel, no stranger. In it till they die, from their seats they will cry. To our faces telling lies, they're complicit, no surprise. The ceiling is high, they think the same of you and I. What they call woke is a politicized form of divide. All lives no matter, just listen to the idle chatter. They're hiding in plain sight because they fear the smoke and splatter. Political leaders, sweet bottom feeders, men who are on their faces are two-tone. Political leaders, sweet bottom feeders, men who are on their faces are two-tone. Their faces are two-tone. The body count is growing from the propaganda that's sowing. They're hiding the hand, want to keep you not knowing. Peace seems to come through war, but war doesn't bring peace. Residual effects are an intermittent release. They bet you'll be called, then they'll call one for you. Presenting arms as though they adore you. They're juvenalistic in nature, maturation missed. They turn the other cheek and receive the Judas kiss. Political leaders, sweet bottom feeders, men who are on their faces are two-tone. Political leaders, sweet bottom feeders, men who are on their faces are two-tone. Their faces are two-tone. Their faces are two-tone. Yeah, their faces are two-tone. "187, quick vicious mind, sadistic, and undercover cancer. So don't get it twisted. He's a snake, no better than a rat. Something he could gain. He's gonna take that fraud. Full break million, just casing out what it's stealing. Most of the time, what he takes, it doesn't need. It's in the stage of the TV street. He's a predator. You can love him or hate him. A menace to the hood. The follower of him. He's a predator. Once yours is mine, he has no bounds. He's always crossing the line. He's a predator. Woo! He's a predator. He's a predator. He's a predator. A bully at heart, he's taking on them all. Men, women, children, girls call. Think it's a gangster because he carries a gun. Rolls the 20 deep, some of them on the run. They hit you once if you don't say a word. Know that they'll be back for a second or third. He's a predator. You can love him or hate him. A menace to the hood. A follower of him. He's a predator. Once yours and mine, he has to bound. He's always crossing the line. He's a predator. He's a predator. He's a predator. He's a predator. Presented friendly, loot and serious. Running game with serious, not about him, but your man at home. I wanna be flattered when you're home alone. Wanna see if he needs you when you put up a fight. Make things move when the time is right. He'll beat you with drugs, money it gets, but when it doesn't get his way, his energy shifts. You'll be persistent, day in, of course, becoming consistent with no remorse. He's a predator, you can love him or hate him, a menace to the hood, a follower of him. He's a predator, once yours is mine, he has no boundaries, always crossing the line. He's a predator. He's a predator. He's a predator. He's a predator. Making papers easy, praise on the block, not time for boys, young girls a lot. The fun to a fun, no let yourself for yourself. Coming up short, it ain't good for your health. It's all business, you're not your friend. If you bring heat, shots, losing. In this game, the codes don't fit. When he gets caught, your name, he's fit, he's a predator. You can love him or hate him, or men to the rule. To follow up from his predator. Once yours and mine, he has no bounds, he's all across the line. He's predator. Woo! He's predator. 187 quick pick.
And good morning, and welcome to another episode of Daddy's right here live. And you know me, live I am. Let me soften up this light a bit. Live I am, yeah. What's happening, y'all? Another day in the neighborhood, another day above ground, another opportunity to help somebody else, because helping somebody else helps us. Remember that. You do for self, you're being selfish, you're not doing for others. That's the problem. And it comes back on you. It comes back on you. The smallest thing is important. I'm not crying. My eyes tend to water up every now and then, and I don't know why it does that. So, but I ain't afraid to cry. But yeah. So we have an air, and it comes along a couple times out the year. Usually around April, and from September on down to November, right? Yeah. From September down to November. And it carries after that. That's the thing about it. And this is just how these narratives are so powerful, that they linger. It's like they escalate from period to period. And then the rest of it is just bickering, debating, arguing. Yeah. And it's the political season, right? That's what happens. We spend all this time complaining and talking about what one party should be doing, what another party should be doing, what one does for blacks and what one doesn't do for blacks. And that's been going on since the beginning of politics and before. And we know that. And we sit back and we still have the same arguments over and over again. And we still see zero done for us as blacks. Why do we keep looking for it? I'm not understanding. Why do we keep looking for it? Why do we keep fighting for the same things that we can put in place for ourselves? And then we want to be big, bad gangsters in social media. We want to take on these platforms where we want to bash other people for making decisions to go along with this particular party, that party, and support this and support that. And it's an ongoing feud there. You know, and it's just foolish. It's pure foolishness, because while we're arguing and debating with one another about issues that are important to us, the world keeps spinning. The same things continue to happen year after year, election after election. No, no change, no change. The system that needs to be focused on is you. What are you doing to improve you as a person? For you to be an adequate, efficient, effective, powerful tool in your own home. See, if you don't begin with the self system, nothing else matters. It's like an infant coming out of the mother's womb, reaching for, feeling around for. And when I say reaching, I'm not just talking about grasping. I mean, it's been in this position for 9 months or for some less. Um, and it's automatic reach, gravitate toward that which has been carrying it. And then at a certain point of that child's life, they should have learned because we should be teaching them as parents to become more independent of us. Ain't no more nipple going in your mouth, bottles gone, breasts gone, none of that. You got a cup now. Nah, ain't no more Pampers. You know to go in there to that potty. You know to go pee pee in the toilet. You know those things. So you're held accountable when you don't do those things. Yeah, you're held accountable when you don't do those things. In some capacity, there's a consequence when you do those things. And then as you come into a certain point of life, you should have developed independence. Less supervision has to be given of you because you've learned, right, wrong, or indifferent. You've learned. I've taught you what I know. I've given you my best. And my best is not always good enough for others, nor the recipient of that which I have bestowed my knowledge upon. Right? So the level of dependence that we still have upon a government to do for us what we need to be doing for ourselves. And that's all people. Just think about it. Yes, we know that there are things that often pose as impediments, barriers, you know, little stumbles here and there along the way. We know those things. So we deal with those things. We should be dealing with those things as they occur, right? Appropriately, as opposed to banding all together in this battle, this debate, this war, not seeing how we wait for things to happen and then we respond or we react outlandishly to these things. And some will debate that, and that's fine. I don't care if you debate that or not. But when did it ever make sense to burn down a damn grocery store in your neighborhood as a means to get the government's attention to the issues that we are concerned about not being addressed in our community? What sense does that make? You get up the next morning, that store is burnt down. Where does the baby's milk come from? Where? The restaurant that you burned down, where do you go get your food from now? It was a convenience store. That's what they're called. That you think somebody's going to turn around and put $1 million, $2 million of their money into restoration, and then when it doesn't happen, you're upset about that. And then it's another cry, another battle cry that they don't care nothing about us. They They don't think, think. It's an ongoing thing. It's a cycle. And that's what the narrative intends to do. Keeps you believing in this hand that will never be extended because that's not what it's designed to do. It's not designed to do that. And I don't know like how much it's really going to take for people to begin to understand that. That is not the role of government. It's a business. This is business. And businesses handle many different ways. You get in the way of my money, we got a problem. And you're going to be addressed accordingly. That's the street code, isn't it? Right? Yeah, but we're not all from the street. We're not all about street life. Doesn't mean that you don't have the knowledge because you choose not to, delve into the lifestyle anymore. It doesn't matter. You know what the codes are. So why are you acting like you don't know? Why are you acting like you don't know now? Same way you find with religion. It's the same thing with religion. See, you have this whole clash of this Christianity, Zionism, Catholicism. You have all of these isms that are standing in the way. So that becomes another barrier. So if you're black, you're supposed to be Democrat. Who said that? Who said that? And someone would like be honored to come and break that down to me. Brother, you just don't see this is what the problem is. Brother. Now I'm your brother. But you talk at me. And I'm just using me as an example because when you have someone black who sits in front of another black person or sits on a platform and tells us if we don't vote for this person or that person, then we're not something. But then when somebody sits in front of us who doesn't look like us, makes the very same statement, they're racist. They're racist. They're racist. They're the racist ones. See, we keep throwing that around too. But let me stay with religion for a minute. Right? So we have political parties. We have the religion. And now that's, again, in the forefront. And it has been over the last couple of years. It's become more prevalent. But it always has been. It's been that way from the beginning. If you're not this, well, you're not that. If you're not this, if you're not washed in this, bathed in this, blessed by this, and all of these references are made to the doings of man under the guise of God. It makes no sense. But people continue to practice by man's guidance, giving man that kind of power and authority over their lives. No man should have that kind of power over another man. No man. No person should allow that to be imposed upon their lives. But it happens every day. It happens every day. You have a person who stands in front of you and tells you this is the way you're supposed to live. And if you don't live that way, these are the consequences. If I drive down the street, a 25-mile-an-hour street, and I drive down this street at 30 miles an hour, excuse me, y'all, at 30 miles an hour, right? I already know I'm breaking the law. I know I'm breaking the law. I'm going to be held accountable to it. For it. I'm going to be held accountable. There's no way around that. But I will argue the issue with the officer who stopped me. I will argue the issue. Where's your accountability? You knew you exceeded the speed limit. If you go 26 miles an hour, right, you're in violation of the law. You know that. You know that if you don't go to work or you don't have some kind of fixed income coming in, that you won't eat. You know that. There's no debate about it. You also know that your community is not going to improve. It's not going to get any better if you don't do something about it. You already know that. You already know that. You learned that early on, right? Before you started driving, you were asking questions about how to get your permit because you want to get your license, because you want to drive. And those are some of the things that you learn. Therefore, when you break the law, what do they tell you? Didn't you go to you got your driver's license, you read the book. In order to get your license, in order to get your permit, you had to study. So you know. So that's why you're held accountable for it. Period. No back and forth, no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Stuff happens in your community. Don't look for the police to solve a crime, right? That you saw or that you have some knowledge of, that you keep to yourself, but you want them to solve the crime. Why? When you're aware of it. And then here we go with the street mentality. And you ain't even about the street. Nah, I ain't snitching. You ain't snitching. So let me understand this. You saw what happened. You saw what happened. And you don't say anything for fear of reprisal upon you and your family. What did you see happen? You saw somebody get shot. You see the white chalk come by and you see it every day. Not only do you see the chalk line, you no longer see the deceased. But you continue to see the perpetrator. And you walk past them. And you act like they're invisible. You don't look their way. Because you don't want it to happen to you too. You allow that person to remain in the street. You allow that person to put you in the position. Again, man is controlling you. Another man is controlling you, controlling your life. Controlling your life. How long do you think it's going to be before it happens to you or your family member, another loved one, another close friend? How long? How many times does this person have to do this in order for you to say it's enough? How long do you sit back and you complain about your community when you can make a change to get people like this off the street who don't belong on the street? How long? How long do your children have to play in the house, in the living room? You got a brand new basketball, a brand new football, baseball bat, gloves, balls. You can't even go across the street in a park and use those things. Yet you complain. You complain at all levels of government, all levels of government, and you're allowed to go on, but you complain. Can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't continue to turn the blind eye to what's happening and then turn your focus towards very entities that you think should fix this. A lot of our institutions who have a voice to its people in masses fail to address that. Fail to address that. Why? Because if you say something about anything that is not in alignment with their thinking or with their narrative, you are ostracized, you're blacklisted. All these different people who are faced with this same dilemma, we're faced with this same issue. I don't care if you're affluent, I don't care if you're poor, I don't care about none of that. There's no in between when it comes to the impact, the negative impact that is imposed upon us because of the color of our skin. We have individuals who refer to us by varied names in their little societies. Pan Africanism is another thing that we revel, great knowledge. But then you have others who don't believe that they're African American. We have the native so called American. We have the indigenous people. See, we have all of these attachments put upon us, and when you select one, you have somebody coming from another direction telling you, no, you're not this, you know, well, you're that, you know, you're not this, no, well, this is where you have that. Do you see where I'm going with all of this? All of these things that I've been talking about are things that go on in my head. And I have to make a decision. I have to make a choice that's befitting for me. When I studied varied religions for years, I had an imam say to us in the class, you have to read and get an understanding for yourself. Plain and simple. So our course of study was as such. It was more of a read, internalize, share with others what you've learned from that. And then clarification of certain aspects of the intent, which was the explanation. So the Quran explained was his approach. Like it had the little notes at the bottom, stuff like that, when certain things said. But looking at all these things, we've gone in the direction that others have chosen and we follow them. Man, we're following man. It's not difficult to follow a higher power. It's not difficult at all because it happens innate. It's within you. You know right from wrong, good from bad, evil, whatever. You know all those things. You don't need anybody to tell you that. But we keep looking externally for man's power to do something to bring about change when only God has that power. We're missing an intricate part of our own personal growth and development because we keep looking towards others. Think about it. How many of you were raised in a home where you had three, four generations there? And everybody in those generations would sit around and talk, and everybody from each one of those generations would talk from a different vantage point because of a period where they came up. As a child makes a decision, well, this is how I'm coming up, and this is what it's looking like for me. And we, the village leaders, debate that. What we don't explain is that these are the basics. These are the basics. The basics. There are basics in life. There are basics. There are things that if you don't deviate from these things, you will have a better existence in this life. You should follow me here. When another person comes along and changes how you think, how you perceive something, you have to ask yourself, why did you allow that to happen? I'm not saying it's wrong. Why did you allow that person to influence or to change your perspective on a particular thing? Was it how it was delivered? What made that person credible? How do you know they have the right information? How do you know they gave you the right information? There was something about the delivery, right? Something about the delivery that attracted you to them. Yeah. So when people say that, well, I'm my own man and I do things on my own, well, yeah, you're doing it on your own. But did you learn it on your own? Did you learn it on your own? It came from somewhere. Go back to that source of learning. Why did you follow that person's thinking? Because it's somebody else's thinking. You felt like there was a need for change of your thinking. So you sought that change. And then you find yourself following that person. And then something happens along the way. And now you're in disagreement with that person's thinking. Why are you in disagreement? Because another thinker told you something else. Why did you gravitate now towards that thinker? You see how this goes? And this is exactly how the system works. It's how it works. There's constantly things being introduced in life so that you can constantly be at odds within yourself as to what you're going to adhere to, what you're going to follow, what you're going to believe. But most importantly, it keeps the divide going. It keeps the divide going. It's just like seeing a trash can sitting in the middle of the street of your block. Most people will just take and find a way around it. If they get out the car and move it, they'll just move it to the side. But if the trash cans fell over, what does that mean? It means that there's trash, in this case, there's trash on the street. So although the can is moved out of the way, the debris is ultimately flattened because nobody cleans up the trash. They just move the can out the way so it doesn't stop them from their forward progress. I live on the block. I got a broom and a dustpan. Why can't I clean it up? Sometimes you go out there and you start doing some things and somebody else comes and helps. We don't have that anymore in many communities. I don't care. I've lived in very affluent communities, and it just is nasty. But their attitudes uppity. Well, that's what we pay the street cleaners to do. That's what they're supposed to do. So we'll leave it there because they come every Wednesday. It'll stay there till Wednesday, and today is Thursday. It'll stay there. They'll get it. And they all think that way. Therefore, it stays there. And when it doesn't get cleaned up, that becomes the argument at the council meeting. We have solutions. We have solutions to all of the problems. We know all of the issues. We've been fighting the same causes for many years. We know what the issues are. Why haven't we brought them to resolve? Why haven't we brought them to resolve? How many other groups of people have gotten their needs met? How many other groups of people, businesses are flourishing, and this is happening, and that's happening? Excuse me, y'all. How many other people, other groups of people, have flourishing businesses, have flourishing communities, have flourishing businesses in their own communities? Why is it we don't have that? Why is it we don't have that? It only takes one person to have a conversation with another like-minded person to make things happen. But there's an attitude that often follows. I ain't man, nah, we. But you walk by the same empty lots every day. You walk by the same vacant store fronts. The policies that exist in so many communities. When I lived in Hunting Park, there was a house that sat on a corner, right? So we rid the area of prostitution, of all the lewd and lascivious behaviors, right? Bar closed down the two bars on the corner, got rid of it. The house that sat on the block, right on the corner. The owner didn't even live in Philly anymore, didn't live in the state anymore. The house sat there. It became more and more dilapidated. It became a haven for drugs, raccoons, possum, anything. Bodies could have wound up in there. But it looked worse as time went on. The community said, hey, we're going to put a fence up around there because one of our kids go in there, God forbid, and there's something on the books about why that property can remain there. Nobody sought to change that. Nobody sought to change that. All it took was one person. And people say, well, yeah, well, we contacted so and so, we contacted so and so. Well, who's in office? Who's in office? Well, we need to get that on the ballot. We need to get that on the ballot. It's not a Democratic issue. It's not a Republican issue. It's a health issue. Who do we need to get with on this? Yeah, no doubt. My hat comes off to all the other things that have been achieved, but we keep voting parties. We keep voting because somebody said this is who we should vote for, and they haven't done anything. But we keep putting these same people in office. What are you complaining for? Who really has the best interests of blacks? We're not listening. We're not listening to the right people. Keep listening to ourselves and keep falling prey to the narratives. So when I talk about belonging, it's a matter of we do things because we want to belong. All of us want to belong to something. I I just got out of the whole fellowship, congregation, Ummah, all this other stuff from religious perspectives, and chose to live a life, a spiritual life, because everything else is just divisive. I chill most of the time by myself because everything else is divisive. People always, it's just the nature. People always will fail you, no matter what. They will always fail you. I don't care how much you love a person, they will always fail you because of expectations that we all have of other people. We all have them, whether you want to accept it or not. There's no such thing as unconditional love. It's just not. You can say it all you want. You have conditions about how your damn children act, right? They don't act accordingly. You put them out when they come of age, or some cases before that. So let's stop talking about that. Where did you get that from? Who told you that? Somebody mentioned it, and it sounded real hit, real fly, real cool. And then somebody came back with, nah, there's no conditions. There's no conditions on love. And you're like, no, I'm hurting right now. How is it not a condition? It is a condition. It is a condition. Don't hurt me. That's a condition. So there's no such thing as unconditional love. Don't hurt me is a condition that I'm giving you. You cheating is on you, but it will affect me. So to the article, Psychology Today, how the need to belong both helps and hurts us. Sometimes the price of acceptance is too high. Because that's all I've been talking about this morning. This is all a matter of acceptance. We don't do, say, a thing because we don't want to make waves with others, those who we seek to be accepted by, those who we have put in a certain light, who we have put up on pedestals. We don't want to be seen in a different light. We want to be seen in the light that they have put us in, and the light shines on a box. And as long as we stay in that box, then they're good with us. We cool, right? They're the movers and shakers, and they the ones who matter. The homeless person matters. You'd be surprised. Some of you. Sorry, y'all, my eyes keep. This is a very sensitive subject. My eyes, I don't. They just water sometimes. Sorry. Um, Be surprised how much you can learn from people who live on the street, how they came into their circumstance, how they struggle and fight to get out of that circumstance, what it has taken for them to come to some level of normalcy living on the street. In Florida, people live in the woods, man. Yeah. See, so there's a lot of people who are homeless who you never see, who walk up and down the street all the time, but they live in the woods. They live in the woods. You know what kind of bravery that takes to live in the woods, especially in Florida. In the city, you just got to worry about the knucklehead stuff that goes on. In the woods, in any woods, I'm sure as other states that the same thing happens. But you got all kinds of critters out there. Man, I would never sleep. My anxiety I would just die. I would just like never sleep, always hearing creaks and all this kind of stuff like that. But they have um, normalized that. And do you know how much it takes to normalize living on the street? To live in conditions such as that without housing? The article is by Juliana Brandis. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Julie. Had a PhD. Uh, the price of acceptance is too high. Yeah. Key points from this article. Research suggests that social belonging is a fundamental psychological need. Let me say that again for those in the front who didn't hear me. Research suggests that social belonging is a fundamental psychological need. Remember, I talked about basics, things that you don't have to read about because it's innate, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And again, just refer you to some of your scriptural context. Adam was in a place. Don't know how long he was in the place, but we do know that he had to have been observed by God. For God to see the need to give him a partner, a helper. This is basic, based on what you say you believe, right? What was happening with Adam? What was going on with Adam? That basic, that innate need. Yeah, right? A fundamental psychological need. So that means, what was he doing? Was he talking to himself because he knew the names of all the animals didn't mean that he could talk to them. There was a need. You're sitting there talking to a tiger. The tiger's sitting there just looking around and just waiting for a rabbit to run by. Don't hear nothing he's saying, but you know, he doesn't feel threatened because Adam's just sitting there talking to him. There's no threat. So psychologically, what was happening with Adam? Let's think about it. What was going on with Adam psychologically? That God said, dude, I need to give you a partner. I don't know what's happening with you. The knower knew something was happening, knew that there was a need that was not being fulfilled. Not being fulfilled. One would argue, well, he's the creator, he knows all. Well, listen, if you pay attention, you'll see the need of a lot of things. Your children are your blessing. We're his children. That is our Father. Right? This is what I mean about studying, getting an understanding that's befitting for your own spirit. And stop allowing somebody else to tell you. Put it together. Make 1 and 1 equal 2. and stop always going to one man. So, fundamental psychological need, fundamental, basic. The need to belong, the second point, can increase empathic accuracy, cooperation, and performance. What is empathic accuracy? Right? Empathy. Not feeling sorry for a person, understanding. Understanding. Empathy is not relating. Empathy is merely understanding. It's an understanding, right? So if I'm talking to somebody, I can't, I don't know what it was like for that person to lose a child. I lost a parent, right? And even in losing a parent, and that other person is talking about uh, losing a parent, when I look at it from an empathetic perspective, I know the pain. I know the pain that they're telling me that they experience. When I begin to delve into myself, then I'm deviating away from the connection to have with them because I'm focusing on me. Empathic understanding is understanding that person's condition, understanding that person's pain, right? So when you look at empathic accuracy, right, cooperation and performance, that's how relationships go. That's why it says the need to belong can increase empathic accuracy, cooperation, and performance. Right? So once you're connected to whatever it is that you have sought that connection with, that you want to be a part of, then you begin to see how you change. So relationships are important. Somebody else is important. What you use with what you gain from that person, that's what you have to monitor. That's what you have to monitor. The next point, however, it can also lead to self silencing, health risks, and conformity to harmful behavior. All those things I've been talking about this morning bring about harmful behavior, right? When we allow others to make a decision for us, how we should adhere to something, how we should apply basic things to our lives, right? Even down to what we refer to ourselves as coloreds, Negroes, nigger, nigger, so on and so forth. All of those things, right? Somebody else came to the conclusion that this is what we should be called. Somebody else came to the conclusion that this is why we were called what we were called. It was a mispronunciation. It was the people of Niger, and it was misstated by the Europeans, and therefore that's how that came about. It's a term of endearment. uh, it's this and it's that, and you know, it doesn't make sense how everybody can say it, but the white guy. He can buy the music, he can attend the concerts, or she. But you, when it comes to the N word, nah, you can't say that. What? That's stupid. It's stupid. Period. So that is when it looks at self silencing, people who are not in agreement with that, black people who are not in agreement with that, like, listen, sing the song, dude. You like the song, sing it. You don't skip words because some, yeah, but you have to. Why? Because It's a health risk, harmful behavior there, self silencing so people don't say anything. You tell me I'm African American. How do you know I'm African American? We're not talking about man's origin. How do you know I'm African American? How do you not know? How do you know that I'm not native Indian? Huh? When you do your research, do you find that out? Oh, doesn't that sound familiar? Jeez, we've been hearing a lot about that of late because if you're this, you can't be that too. So we have that going on in the political narratives right now. Oh well, no, she's this, and what? Oh damn, we heard that before about Barack. Yeah, well, yeah, he's this, and well, he's not really this. Well, he's not. So we have the same. And again, it's the thinking. Who came up with that? What is black? What is black? And the list goes on. But it says, however, it can lead to self silencing. A lot of people stop talking about anything, stop having conversations about anything because of what comes out of the mouths of other people who get this information. And whatever the information is, they make it be fitting for their spirit, but then they want to make it be fitting for everybody around them. And when it isn't, when you're in disagreement with them, another divide. So you don't say anything. And we conform. And that's what we've done. That's why we haven't had any change because we're so deeply divided that we have conformed to other conditions that have no relevance whatsoever or no significance whatsoever to bring it about the necessary change so we can stop complaining. But complaining is easy. But you're not complaining to the right ones and you're not complaining in a manner that you're being heard. Because until we have that conversation, right, with ourselves, we can't expect to sit at the table with anybody else and have a conversation about needed change. So to the article, feeling socially connected and included is considered by psychologists to be a fundamental human need, one that is rooted in our evolutionary history, where evolution, right? I talked about Adam's creation, the creation of a partner, right? From them came many, right? The many that came didn't hold on to everything that each set of parents did. Therefore, they evolved into different conditions, different things. We're not walking around in sandals and in sand anymore, right? But there were fundamental principles that existed. The root, group membership was essential for survival. So when you look at today, how we should have, evolved, humanity should have evolved. We still we don't use it as a means to protect the village. We don't use this as a means to have a hierarchical structure in our communities. Nobody has any position within the village anymore. It was necessary. And this is what it says here. It's rooted in evolutionary history where group membership was essential. So you had the varied tribes, right? You had the varied tribes. Each tribe had their way of doing things. It was necessary that you were part of a tribe. And if you weren't part of a tribe, then you somehow or another got brought into one, got accepted into one. But how were you accepted into one? They accepted you. You had to learn to accept them, but it was them who had to accept you first. We haven't evolved from that. We still looking to be accepted. We're still looking to be accepted. We're still looking to be allowed in. We're still looking to be welcome to the table when there's no evolvement. There's no evolution that is taking place with us. We are wandering aimlessly because we don't know who we are and where we should be and what what group of people is right and who's living the best life and what is the best life and monetary things have become of most significance, and then you get to a point in life you learn that it ain't about the money, it's about living. But you don't know how to live, so now you're looking somewhere to somebody to teach you how to live, when if you stay with the fundamentals of living, it's a lot easier. But when it comes to change, we haven't evolved. We're looking towards, and this is for people, humanity, period. That's why so many people are complicit. Things happen right in front of them and they say nothing, because if they say something, then they're no longer a part of. If they're no longer a part of, then where do they fit in? You don't fit in anywhere, and you can't fit in here because you sat and you allowed that to go on. You hear that right now being part of the narrative, for Vice President Harris. Whereas, now it's a matter of, okay, you knew Joe was in this condition and you said nothing. So now that becomes challenge. See, but like you don't say anything because you're part of this. It's like the bad cop who is always on the scene with the shenanigans and the good cop that's with him who does nothing, who remains complicit, all in the name of being a part of. You follow me where this is? So, and this is where it talks about how it also can lead to self-silencing, health risk, and conformity to harmful behaviors. These bad apples in these police departments need to go. They need to go. They're putting your life, the good cop, at risk. Yeah. So when you see things happening, you're complicit, especially when it happens to someone who looks like and you say nothing. Again, the divide continues. So it's blue over black. So, in the same thing that happens when, like I said, when you're in situations where you have to go along to get along. So, if you're black, you're supposed to be Democrat. Who said that? Again, I said this earlier in the show. Who said that? Who said that? Because that's what you believe? I am certainly not a liberal. I'm certainly not a liberal. I've been told I'm more of a conservative. I don't get into all that. I don't try to put myself in this box that you want to put me in. So when we have a conversation, you can call me, I'm this and I'm that. So, and again, it goes on and on and on and on. I believe that everybody should be responsible for themselves. I believe that, you're in your own way. Nothing else is in your way. Yes, there are barriers that we come upon in certain situations. How do we get over that barrier? How do we get through that barrier? That's the focus. The focus is not complaining about the barrier. The conversation has to be about moving that barrier out of my damn way. Plain and simple. And if that's not a conversation that we're having, why are we even talking? Because you're basing it off of a narrative. I'm basing it on the reality. The barrier is right there. How are we gonna move it? Being afraid, being fearful, is not going to move it. You let it stand in the way. So now you go another way. because you don't want to confront that, because the road of least resistance seems to be the one most traveled. The impulse to connect can enrich our social lives, but it can also come at a cost, especially when the conditions of social acceptance are at odds with our values, our well being, and our safety. So, how many people right now are going to go out and vote Democrat just because? Just because. Think about it. And before you present the argument, be able to articulate it very clearly in opposition to voting Republican. Because if you can tell me why you're voting Democrat, tell me why you wouldn't vote Republican. Think about it for a minute. Think about how many times you go and stand in line, and when they was permitted that they can give you these ballots and all this other stuff they used to give you on your way walking up to the door, they're not permitted to do those things anymore. But just think about it. Think about all the signs that are put up. Think about the nice pictures that they take. Think about some of the pictures that you see that people put up for when they're running for office. They don't even look like them no damn more. How much are they really caring about the people when you can't show me your true self? How much acceptance do you have of yourself when you're not giving them a new picture to put up of you? You got a 20-year-old picture up there of you, what you used to look like, right? How you're not even in the community. I've never seen you walking around the community except in April, in October. Never seen you. I should be looking around the community and seeing you. I should be seeing the change that you have brought about. I don't even look for it. I'm not saying I'm saying it's not looked for. I'm looking for the community change. I'm looking for the evolution. That's what I look for. If I drive by the same vacant lot year after year after year, but then I hear you talking about jobs and developing, that you got going on and somewhere else where it's needed right here, why are you in office? And I always, make conversation about when they wanted to build a casino in Philly over at the old Bud factory and the Tasty Cake factory. They wanted to build a casino. Some slick talking Philadelphia representative talked people out of allowing that to pass. Hundreds, maybe thousands of jobs. Yeah. In a community where houses were already caving in, falling apart. If you've ever been in that pocket, you would know what I'm talking about. Right? Hundreds or even thousands of jobs at these casinos. People concern themselves more with all this traffic and we won't have this and we won't have that and da. They built a strip mall. How many jobs? How many people work at Checkers? How many jobs? You know what I'm saying? How many jobs came about as a result of Checkers coming here? Dumbest thing in the world. Because you went along to get along and not make waves. And you saw 15 jobs come. 15 jobs. I don't even know if they still open. But a casino? Oh no, well eventually they'll come over here to get this and they get that, and that's what they do. Now most of those houses over there are empty or just not in good conditions, livable wise. Nobody got anything out of it because following other people. So again, The conditions of social acceptance are at odds with our values, well being, or safety, right? You would have certainly had a safer area because you know it's going to be police around all the time. You know, you thought people, whatever they were convinced of, they got convinced of this by city officials, Philadelphia city officials, period. Belonging, both positive and negative consequences. Let's look and see what this is talking about. On the positive side, the need to belong can make us more socially attuned. Research has found that when this need is front and center in people's minds, they're better at reading emotions and other people's facial expressions and vocal tones, an indicator of empathic accuracy. See? So you got to pay attention to people, right? It's called reading the room. You need to be able to read the room, right? This says at reading emotions and other people's facial expressions, you know. So like being able to see what when you're talking to somebody, whether you're offending them, whether you hurt them, whether they're annoyed by what it is you're saying, whether they're receiving what it is that you're saying. Because when you want to belong, you want to do and say things that are receptive by others, right? You want to be welcoming, you want to be inviting. But what happens is when you go across that line and begin to adapt your conversation to that which they present because you see them in a particular light. So you change what it is you're saying and you become what it is they want you to become. Now you're appeasing. There has to be a balance in there. And that's why it talks about in attuning, right? You have to be attuned to what's happening in that environment, right? But you got to stay with yourself. But there's a way to deliver a message without being offensive to somebody else. They also more easily take others' perspectives and remember information about them. And again, this is about listening to other people. And this is where you have to be paying attention when you're listening. Why are you listening to this person? What is it about this person that you are attracted to in their conversation? Was it their conversation that helped that caused you to gravitate towards them? Was it the dress? Was it, the suit? Was it the perfume, the cologne? Was it certain mannerisms? You can like somebody's mannerisms, but you got to be careful because their mannerisms are one thing. What it is they're saying out of their mouths may be a a cognitive dissonance, whereas they're saying one thing out of their mouth, but their actions are showing something else. So you have to be aware of those things, and those are not the things that you're aware of when you're gravitating towards a person. You just know that you're gravitating towards, hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, what's up, yo? Seem like a pretty all right dude, man. Why? What makes it seem like I'm a pretty all right dude? Can you answer that question? Most times, no. No, well, I mean, you seem to know what you're talking about. Uh, how, what were we talking about that makes you think that I know what, uh, or seem to know what it is I'm talking about? You could have gotten the same information if you wanted to know about the XL Bully dogs. You could have went online and found that out for yourself. I'm reading this article in Psychology Today. I don't know anything about Juliana Brianes. I like the article. Will I read more of her articles? Well, I know her name now, and I like this article. I may very well read some of her articles, some more of her articles. But what am I looking at? I'm looking at the content. I'm not looking at Juliana. She may be a mean, crude, nasty, uppity person, right? That has nothing to do with the content here. Has nothing to do with the content. It's like R. Kelly. You stop listening to R. Kelly's music because of his indiscretions, or what are you going to do about yours? What are you doing about yours? What are you doing about your own? So you stop listening to his music. His music still has the same impact, but you convince yourself, okay, I'm not going to listen to his music anymore because of this. You know how minimal your existence would be if you stopped doing certain things, stop wearing certain things, stop eating certain things. Wait a minute, you did, but you know that. You know what you're wearing right now is made by a person who probably doesn't like you, probably despises you, but you still buy their clothes. You, you probably went and got your dinner from a restaurant, from a person who doesn't like you, who loathes you, but you keep going there. Hmm. Guess I'm wrong about that too, huh? It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing what it is that we tell ourselves about a particular thing, but don't look at the other thing with the same value system. Hey, what's up, Darlene? So you look at things from the perspective you want to look at based on who you're around. That's what it ultimately comes down to. Who you're around. Who's around, right? Who's around. Yeah. And we avoid people because of other people. Grown folks. I don't like him. Well, why not? Because he is. Oh, yeah, that ain't cool. Yeah, that ain't. But you don't even know the person. Grown people. You not my friend because you not his friend. Belonging can override our judgments. Back to the article. But focusing on others' feelings to gain acceptance can sometimes come at the expense of one's own feelings. Yeah, been there, done that. Avoided a whole lot of things. Don't say anything about a lot of things because you don't want to hurt the other person. I don't want to see you hurt. I don't want you to cry. I don't. If I say this, then you leave me. So I won't say this because my fear of you leaving me. But if you're gonna leave, you're gonna leave anyway, right? But if I just avoid saying this to you, you'll stay. You'll be my friend. But eventually, it's going to happen anyway. When you're in that kind of relationship where you're suppressing, uh, you're silencing yourself because you want to be a part of this. Because if you say something, then you'll be perceived as being arrogant, as being, you know, difficult, combative. Says here, so for example, in studies of adolescents and young adults in dating contexts, those who are more concerned with avoiding rejection were more likely to silence their feelings to avoid losing a relationship. And again, silence and suppression, and to suppress their true opinions and tastes to align more closely with those of a potential partner. And again, you have to look at all of these things. You have to look at these things in the context of what's happening in our societies today, what's happening in the black communities today. There's no help coming. Listen to what I'm saying to you. There's no help coming. Help is come and gone, right? The next hand ain't coming until you do for self. God helps those who what? Do for themselves first. You're doing it for yourself. You're gonna give you that hand if that's what you believe. Don't think that you gonna sit there and do nothing. That nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You had math at school. Do the math. Nothing from nothing. That was a song. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something if you want to be with me, right? The same thing in life itself. You just have to make those adjustments. Um, but that's what happens. You know, you don't want to be rejected, so be quiet. You sit in these groups, these congregations, these ummas, these environments where it's a whole bunch of other people around, and you dare not say a particular thing because, oh, hey, brother, no, no, no. What do you mean? Nah, man, we don't. What we? What about me? Me don't. You don't. We don't. It's not no. And we have too many we don'ts. And what we do as black people, now we don't do that. Huh? Yeah, brother, where you get that? Nah, we don't. Mm-mm. Oh, okay. I guess I need to go solo. Another positive side of the need to belong is that it can inspire us to put our best foot forward. In one study, people who were left out of a game went on to work harder on a collaborative project with the people who excluded them, presumably as a way to demonstrate their value to the group. Think about it. It happens all the time. Some of the earliest social psychology experiments ever conducted found that the mere presence of other people can motivate people to perform better on various tasks, at least when they see it as an opportunity to do well and impress others. Yeah, yeah. I most of my employment was me working independently, the ability to work without a whole lot of direction. I would seek guidance where I needed to seek guidance, but most of the time I was expected to function and operate independently. And absolutely, when the boss was there, there was always an elevation of performance. People say, here he go. No, as an employee, my job is to make my boss look good. As a person, I should always be representing myself anyway. My values and my beliefs should always be represented. As a person, the person that hired me because they believed that I had what it took, what it takes to fulfill the need of that role. And that's why they put me there. So my job is to fulfill those duties. So my boss can sit down in front of their boss and see, hey, we're getting it done. Everybody wants to look good for their boss. I don't look at things from the old weak perspective of, yeah, here come Master. Go on, watch him dance. Watch him do his jig for Master. It is so weak. It is so weak. When I hear black men say things like that, it is so weak of you. And you don't see how harmful that thinking is to your relationships with others, but most importantly, right? How devastating it is when you come out your mouth with that kind of rhetoric to us all. Because you have other people who are watching you and they admire you. And when you start calling other black men coons, Uncle Toms, and all that stuff, that's hurtful rhetoric. Everybody is not you. And when you see how divisive that tone is, you're actually fulfilling the role that you put upon other people because that's what you're expected to do. So you falling for the narrative. You falling for the narrative that you can turn around and call another black man a coon because he ascribes to another thinking that you don't feel is black enough. It's anti-black, things of that nature. That's scary that you believe that you're actually doing good for black people. But that's a whole nother show. But we're at the hour. Um, and we really got to go more into this because uh, it goes into our judgments being overridden because we're belonging, and it's happening right now. It's happening right now because again, belonging has both positive and negative consequences. Because once you're in it, you're in it. When you begin to express your true values and beliefs in certain situations, you'll see why you really don't belong. Why you really don't belong there. Yeah, you'll find that out as you go on. So we're gonna next week we're gonna get back and we're gonna finish this part of the article where it talks about belonging, overriding our judgments, and how is belonging really worth it? Is it really worth it? I continue to live my life in the way that I do, um, solo. I fly solo. I ride solo because I don't have time for the shenanigans. I really don't. And that's going to be in any relationship. Somewhere along the line, people are going to say and do things uh, that are going to be off-putting. Somewhere along the line, you're going to say something that somebody's in disagreement with. Just think about it for a minute. Think about how many times you really wanted to say something. No, I'm voting for Trump. Around a bunch of people who are voting for Kamala Harris because she's black. Think about that. Think about how many people are going to tell you how racist he is, this, that, and the other, and how significant that is to world affairs, right? Think about it for a minute. Think about how you have a person who's going to sit in front of you and make you feel like you're the stupidest person in the world because you decided to vote for Donald Trump because of their interpretation of expectation of leadership. And many people don't even have any idea what goes on at that level of government. They don't. Keep talking about what he ain't did this for blacks and he ain't did that for blacks and but they want the black vote and so on and so forth. And just think about what it is that you're saying. Think about what it is that you're doing when you're making the decision to vote. It's the foolish thing. It's the foolish thing. She's not black enough. Barack wasn't black enough. Hell, Barack ain't even black. He's not even American. Neither is she. And just the stupidity of the dialogue. But what's needed in our world, in our government, and I say our world, it's because of the America's position amongst all of the nations, where it stands. What does that mean for us and our safety as Americans? What does that mean to have a Kamala Kamala Harris in office? What does that mean to have because she's a woman? So we want to. Oh, that's historic, isn't it? A female president. That's great. A black female president. Oh, well, that's even greater. Well, okay. So, what benefit does the nation have? What benefit does the nation have? Because this comes down to safety, man. It comes down to safety. It comes down to a lot of things other than what do I, as a black man, get out of voting for you? Well, what do you, as a black man, get out of voting for another black person simply because they're black? Oh, well, that don't make sense. This dude over here, he don't like us. Well, how many people like you? Of all the clothes you got, how many of those people like you? Do you know where that shirt came from? Who made that shirt? Who sells that shirt? right? What is that logo on your shirt? Do you know what that logo represents? Do you know where it originated? Do you know that the owner of that doesn't like you either? No, that doesn't matter. I'd rather know that you're an asshole because I'm going to expect that from you. But knowing that you have the capability of doing particular things, things that make sense in the world, I'd rather know that about you because then it's no secret. You work with people every day who look like you, who you know is slimy, but you laugh and kiki and smile in their face, do business with them, break bread with them, but yet and still they're not an issue for you. They're not an issue for you because they look like you, so that's okay. That's okay. Uh, and belonging is something else, man. It really is. It's really difficult to live in this day and age and be unscathed of the happenings. It's just it's but you got to make choices, man, that are befitting for you. Excuse me, because as long as you continue to just go along, get along, things are not going to get any better. When you vote for what you want the world to be like, right? What you want the community to be like starts at a whole different level of voting. Stop voting for these same people over and over again. You got a lot of people who in office who don't belong in office. You got a lot of judges sitting on benches who don't belong on those benches, right? Because you see no change in your community. And it's always appreciate y'all tuning in to listen to me on a Saturday morning. Saturday morning, you can go to anything else, 9 o'clock. You're listening to me. Y'all have a great day. I'm your host, as always, Sabir Lane. He's holding it down. You're never around. There's a knock on my door. Telling her another man's down. Can't be a provider if you're not beside her. You got her living alone in that house where you had her. You got the life on hold while the lies you told. So long time comes, that's why the conversation's cold. Do you hear the cry while my baby haven't died? Told a lie after lie, I'm a big tough guy. Do you hear the cry? Make sure y'all go check out AleemForYou.com, AleemForYou.LLC.Etsy.com. Check out some of the product that we have. Cups, tumblers, tote bags, posters, t-shirts. AleemForYou.com. Do you remember your very first call? Without education, who did you call? Once you were free, who did you go see? The one you call your dog, your true enemy. You're rapping and killing, your brother's blood you're spilling. Roll all over your style, community building. His safety holding you up, he gets away. But you had no place of your own, and in someday you lay. Do you hear the cry? While my baby had to die. So the lie, and the lie, and the lie, when he just died. Do you hear the cry? Hey, listen, I'll probably be starting a GoFundMe page soon for Daddy's Right Here. Uh, Trying to get this thing going on, man. Visitation, an education center for fathers, the children be able to come and have visits, not just sitting there looking at their child for a whole hour while somebody observes them, but giving them the opportunity, man, to do some creative things with them, you know. Um, Events on, personal growth and development, family building, things of that nature. But just stay tuned. I got more to come, man. You didn't know when you got into this game what you thought you would get was fortune and pain. This fortune you got, a flag you claim. There's a bounty on your head, taking one to the brain. Do you hear the cry? Why my baby had to die? So the lie, after lie, after lie, I wanna be tough time. Do you hear the cry? Why my baby had to die? So the lie, after lie, after lie, I wanna be tough time. I wanna be tough guy. I wanna be a tough guy. I wanna be a tough guy. See, tomorrow's story is you just walking all the glory. Pockets full, there's nothing but a footprint. The numbers they'll give you, you won't have a name. And if you ever see freedom, you'll probably walk with pain. Get stabbed in the back, both one and the same. But remember, one what you're in this world, they both had your back. You did them both real dirty, and that's a fact. One was your mother, the other your lover. One loses a son, the other provides another. Did you hear why my baby had to die? For the lie after lie after lie, I wanna be tough guy. Did you hear the cry? Why my baby had to die? For the lie after lie after lie. Wanna be tough guy. 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 Did you hear the cry? Did you hear the cry? So you're listening to Tough Guy from the album You Want to Be Me. Stay tuned for more music. Yeah, I got something coming for you. Should be around the end of August. But again, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you check out AleneForYou.com. Check out the merchandise there. Also, look for my upcoming GoFundMe. Yeah. Need to get Daddy's right here going strong here in Florida. Need a location. Got to make it happen. Need your help. Need your support. As always, y'all have a great day. I'm your host, Sabir Aline. Peace.